Hello. Today we're going to take a trip to the farm. I'd like to talk to you about shade netting for you people growing in really hot climates and even in the northern climates when you have a hot summer, how shade netting the best way I have found to use it, and also plant size. Do you want a 600 square foot pumpkin plant or a 1,000 square foot pumpkin plant? But join us today. The shade netting is also great for all types of vegetables, not just giant pumpkins. A cooler environment will grow you better plants. And I'd like to also tell you what we're going to give away. April 1st, a 1911 Urena. This is the mother seed that grew the 2,528 pound Gettys on the East Coast, Steve Getty's pumpkin. Fourth largest pumpkin in the world, I believe now. The mother seed. These go for over $100 a seed at auction. I'm going to give one of these away April 1st, along with a couple other seeds, mystery seeds, to people that comment. Share the videos, comment on them. If you do not have a Google email account, then that is why you cannot comment. People ask me with their phones, hey, how come I can't leave a comment on your video? You need to go open a Google email account, and then you'll be able to comment. All right, I know they tell me 70% of people are now on phones, they're not on desktops. Call me a dinosaur. I'm still using a desktop. Also today, I want to award Jim's Organics in Kentucky. He won our Fay Seed contest last year, and he's already gotten his $300. I sent it to him on PayPal. And Jim, hey, email me your address. I misplaced your address to send you the plaque. But here you go. Congratulations. This was nice. Just proving that you can take a 600-pound pumpkin, an 800-pound pumpkin, and he grew a 1,082-pound pumpkin. All right, new grower, hasn't been growing a long time. Great job, congratulations. But please join us today. I want to take a trip to the farm and show you the shade netting. What I have here is the shade netting. The shade netting I stored in a box. I stored some stuff in a stall over here at the farm, and I wanted to come over and make sure that the mice haven't gotten into it. And it looks pretty good so far. I'll show you a little bit more about it. All right, this is it. It's over 30 foot long. This piece here is 30 feet long. And as you can see, it's got a sewn edge, and it has, I'm sorry for securing it, has eyelets. Now this is very good greenhouse grade. I'm thinking this is like a 40 to 50%, probably 40% block. It's pretty heavy. And I was given this by a greenhouse. I went by a greenhouse, a local guy I've known for over 30 years. And I says, hey, you got any of that shade netting you're not using? He said, sure, Mark, no problem. And he set me up, and he said, all we want, he says, we don't want you to pay us for it. He said, just set a big pumpkin out there in front of the business this fall. If you can set us one of your big monster pumpkins out there, I'll let you have it. And so anyway, so there you go. But I like this here. It's 30 feet long. This is probably about 10, 11 feet wide. I have several of these. And what we like to do is you need to shade the entire plant. I know some people have talked about shading the fruit. That's so they don't abort when it's really hot. That's another video. And I think personally, just shading the fruit is kind of a waste of time. If you're in the low 90s, you need to shade the whole plant. The pumpkins don't pollinate well at those temperatures. They also don't do well. I'm thinking the maximum temperature for a pumpkin plant in most plants is 90 degrees. But I like to see it more around 87, 88 as the high point. So it's best, what most people don't realize though, is the soil. When the sun is beating on the soil out here heats up to 118 degrees. So you have that 118 degrees rolling into the plant where you have bare soil. Now, if there's good leaves established on the plant, then it's shading itself. That helps. That soil under there will be cooler. So I like to take this shade netting and drape it 3 or 4 feet beyond the plant, raise it up, take T-post, pound T-post in the ground, every 8 to 10 feet. And then I like to run nylon rope or cable across it. And I'll actually put this all up on there so I can slide it back and forth. So if you do have an extremely cloudy day, let's say your shade netting. Now, Josiah Brandt suggested, let me turn this around. All right, speaking with Josiah Brandt likes 30% shade netting. All right, and I agree, that's a good number. Some of them are 20%, 30, and 40%. I wouldn't exceed 40, depending on where you live. But you that are in really hot climates, you need the entire pumpkin plant. Say your pumpkin plant's 600 square feet, you want the whole pumpkin plant shade netting on it, 24/7, leave it up. You get an extremely cloudy week, then you can go ahead and roll it off. That would be the reason for the T-post and the cables or ropes, so that you can roll it. One person can roll it off without having an army of people over. But it's very much, when you have your soil heating up to 118 degrees out here where the soil is, if you throw a thermometer on the ground, you'll see what I'm talking about in the summer. It'll heat right up to 118 degrees. If you take that same thermometer and bring it under the shade netting, you'll now find what your temperature is outside. Say it's 92 that day, it'll be 92 under the shade netting. And that's what you need to do. You need to cool the entire environment, not just the pumpkin or partial of the plant. And some people say, oh, I like misting. Well, if you mist too much, if too much misting, a plant's wet all the time with high temperatures, is going to equal disaster. You're going to have disease like you've never seen before. So I strongly recommend these long shade nettings. You can buy them on the internet. You can shop for them. Shade netting, 20%, 30%, 40%. All right? All right, and we'll talk a little bit more about plant size. We'll talk more about that in a second. This is an insect screen, not a shade netting, but it also has a 20% shading effect, taking away 20% of the harsh sun that you do not need. All right, I used this on my original kin cave I built in 2002. I encased it in this to try to keep the squash vine borer out. At that time, I don't know if Merit wasn't available or I didn't know about it. It was really pre my heavy internet use. So this was good stuff. It also breaks down the airflow. The nice thing about this, you put it on, a thunderstorm comes through, windstorm, 50-mile-an-hour winds, and it really defuses the wind. Great way to go. Many have built using this, like Phil Groenwald in Indiana, Ryan Cleveland. That's a good way to go. This year, I'm going to grow, though, with the shade netting. I just want to let you know about this. Don't ask me where to buy this. You might be able to ask Ryan Cleveland, Phil Groenwald, where it's available. Email them or ask here on the page, and maybe we can answer you here on the YouTube channel. Ask away. We'll find the answer for you. All right? All right, keep them growing. So no matter what you're growing, whether it's cabbage, cucumbers, tomatoes, if you're in an environment where you're like 95 to 100 degrees and you really need to cool it off, shade netting. Shade netting, you can set up, this piece here is like 10 by 30. There's 300 square foot if you had a small garden. And set that up on T-posts, metal T-posts, stick them in the ground and run that. You could grow under that all summer long. And really, because you're not really growing, if you got temperatures of 96 to 100 degrees, you're not really growing in 96 to 100 degrees. That soil is heating up and you're probably 105 degrees, 110 degrees, in excess of that in areas. Like I said before, you need to shade the entire environment. But the screen cloths with plants, you only need 50% of the sun's intensity for 100% plant production. So the shade net is, you're still going to get all your growth. You'll get more growth because you're cooling the plant. And hey, don't forget to get your seeds at worldwidegiantgrowers.com. We got tons of seeds. We got Josiah's Brandt, who's grown lots of 2,000 pounders, several of them, too many to count for me. We got Chris Kent's watermelons, Jeremy Lindley from Arkansas. We have tomatoes. I have my worm tomato on there. And we also have many other growers on there. Lots of seeds to check it out. Shop at worldwidegiantgrowers.com. You can shop right here. Please join us. We'd love to grow with you. So, whether you want to build a hoop house or if you want just shade protection for your plants in the hot environments. Now, one misconception is that the hoop houses are extremely hot. Automatically, it's hot, you're gonna have to keep it cool, you have to keep it cool. That is not necessarily true. With this lighter screen that I used in 2002, I actually used this when I grew my 2043 and my 1947. It actually, if it is like 95 degrees outside or even 90 degrees outside, and you build a hoop house with this screen on it, it's the same screen Don Barron used to grow his new Michigan State record, the 2118, was grown in the same type of concave screen house. If you're outside and it's 90 degrees out and you step inside the house, it feels cooler. And it is cooler because it's shaded effect. You have that shaded effect. So outside, the dirt on the ground is 118 degrees. And inside there, it's not. It's 90 degrees. So it's actually cooler. So don't be deceived by that. A lot of people think, they see this and think it's plastic, it's a hot house, it's going to be too hot. You can actually create a cooler environment by building a hoop house with screen. This year, I'm going to build my hoop houses out of pallets. Stay tuned for those videos this spring. I'm going to show you how to build them every step of the way. And I'm going to put shade netting, that heavier shade netting over them, because I believe the sun is getting so harsh with climate change that I want to be rid of the harsh sun. What these screens will give you is longevity. And when you go to plant size, Josiah grows on like 600 square foot plants inside of a greenhouse, all right? And what you end up with come Labor Day grown in a greenhouse is your plants, your leaves are much healthier. They have much more longevity because they were not exposed to that harsh sun. They don't need that extra 20 or 30% sun. All it does is make the leaves wear out prematurely. If you go to my grower's diary on bigpumpkins.com back in 2014 when I grew my 1947, Russ Pugh pointed this out, that he couldn't believe how green and beautiful come September 1st my plants still were. And that because they did not get the abuse of the sun and they were grown under a screen, giving the plant more longevity. So there you go. Now plant size, whether 600, 900, or 1200, a plant, if you have a 600 square foot plant, what you're going to get come Labor Day growing outside is that come Labor Day, your plant's exhausted. The leaves are wore out, they're exhausted. So that's the problem with 600 square foot plant. That's why I prefer a 1,000 square foot plant, because even when I grew my 2043, come Labor Day, the first 400 or 500 feet of my plant, it was exhausted because from overwatering. At the time, I didn't know. Steve Delitas came out with how he figured out the older half of the plant doesn't need as much water towards the end of the season as your newer growth. It's young, it's healthier, it needs the water. You should be watering less to that newer growth in August than to the old part of the plant that was mature in June. So, learning all that, we all learn from each other. It's awesome. Awesome to share information. We now know as you hit September, you're watering the old half of the plant less, but you need that half of the plant. The problem with the 600 square foot plant is come Labor Day, you may only have 100 square foot of plant that's still healthy and vibrant. Hence, the 1,200 square foot plant. Something to think about. Just sharing that with you new growers. Something you need to toss around and decide, hey, how big do I want my plants to be? All right, so there you go. There you have it. I want to thank you today for joining me. I also want to congratulate Jamie Spencer again. And please, I'm terrible looking through my emails. I'm sure I have your address, but send it to me again, and I'll send your plaque off to you. Congratulations. Awesome grow, Jamie Spencer. And he also won $300. All right, and don't forget the 1911. Leave your comments below. And please, if you like the video, subscribe to the channels, turn your notifications, and please join us. We're going to give away a 1911 Urena April 1st to one lucky commenter, and we'll throw in some bonus seeds, a second and third place. All right, thank you very much. Keep them growing.